A better route. Chapter 141. Naruto wasn't the kind of person who was easily scared. Only 3 times had he truly felt terrified in his life. The first had been when he found out Kakashi had joined the Akatsuki. He had been terrified for someone who was almost his brother. Second, the moment he learned of his sensei's death, his world was rocked that anyone was actually strong enough to kill him. And now there was this war, something that was chilling Naruto to the bone. His friends were going to die for him and the other Jinchuriki, and now he was the only one left. It felt like everything was on his shoulders now, and then Tuhiya went and made it sound like she wasn't even going to need him. Naruto might have been afraid, but he was also pissed. Naruto walked over to the injured Killer Bee and asked his aunt, "He's stable enough to be moved, right?" Rin was nervous. "To be honest, Naruto, I'm really not sure. He looks like he might be able to move, but he's in really bad shape, way worse than Fu was. To put it bluntly, Naruto, I'm not sure whether or not he's gonna survive." Kushina walked over to her son to make sure he was okay. She said he might not survive, there's still a chance. "Are you okay, Naruto?" Naruto had a determined look on his face. "Never better. Let's get him to the medical ninjas and go find Madara and Tuhiya so that we can kick their asses." Rin figured that was the best choice. "Alright, can you make a clone to take me and B to the tent?" Naruto made the clone, who quickly went over and got the 2 ready. He only had one last thing to ask of his aunt: "Please, make sure he's okay." Rin nodded, "Of course." Kushina watched as Naruto jumped to what she could only assume was where he was sensing the Geto's statue chakra. She could have swore that she saw Minato's determination in his eyes. The Mist's greatest swordsmen were still battling strong, and destroying just about everything around them. Only Haku and Kushimaru weren't known for destructive power, the rest of them were pretty much wrecking everything in their path. Although not all of them started out doing well in the battle, they were all doing well now. Kisame knew it was going to take something a little tougher than just his water shark bomb jutsu to take out Fuguki, which Kisame could do easily. A good thing too, because Fuguki was coming right at him with shoulder down and covered in sharpened hair. "Come and take your punishment, you little traitor." Kisame was making a ton of hand seals and water began to form around his feet. "If it was up to me, you know I wouldn't have killed you guys. You were all the family I had at the time. I did what I was told to do, and then I was afraid to face that it was wrong. What I did wasn't right, but I've made peace with it and moved on." Great Water Shark Bullet Jutsu. Fuguki watched as a huge shark, at least 3 times the size of the water shark bomb, formed around Kisame and shot at him. This one was gonna force him to do a lot more than just stop for a second. The enormous shark hit Fuguki and sent the big man crashing into the ground. Son of a bitch. Zabuza was kicking some ass as well, since he finally figured out the best way to take out Jinpachi. He'd had the right idea with the mist, but he should have known better than to try and get close to him. He had plenty of stuff to work with for long-range jutsus anyways. Jinpachi couldn't see anything, so he decided it was time to go for his best attack. He raised his scroll-shaped blade into the air and began to spin it, releasing explosive tags all around him. "Sorry Zabuza, but I think you're out of luck on this one." Zabuza couldn't be seen, but he could be heard saying, "If you think I'd go down that easy, you've clearly forgotten how good I am." A water dragon burst out of the mist, catching a lot of tags as it came at Jinpachi. Between the dragon and explosions tags, Jinpachi was sent flying into the air when it hit. He dropped his blade as fell to the earth, and Zabuza caught. "You won't be needing this, so I'll just take it off your hands." Jinpachi hit the ground and said sarcastically, "Yeah, thanks." Tenaki was still having the time of her life with her fight. She had an opponent that she could go all out on and just utterly kick the crap out of, then they would just get right back up. Sadly though, that was slowly starting to get boring. She called to the others as she reflected another lighting attack. "Okay, so how exactly are we gonna take these guys out? Don't we have to seal them away or some shit like that? Chojuro responded as he dodged another attack from the top half of Kabutawari and jumped on top of the no-bladed part of the mallet. We get them to stay still and then put that freaking seal thing on them, he finished as he cut off Jinin's arm. Then he kicked the Kabutawari away so that he couldn't use it when the arm grew back. Haku suggested as he fought in close range with Kushimaru, perhaps there's some way I can freeze them all. Kushimaru tried to stab Haku once again, but this time then he grabbed the blade, he covered it in ice right down to Kushimaru's hand. He yanked the blade forward and not only got the blade but broke his opponent's ice-covered hand clean off. Kisame had heard what Haku had said and got an idea. Haku, I think you may have something there. You guys keep these 5 boxed in while me and Haku get all set. When I say get out of the way, you all get the fuck out of the way. That sounded like a plan made by Kisame. Quick, simple, and with a little profanity slip in there for good measure. All of them got around and start to use various jutsus to try and box them in. Teneki even set up a lightning cage. Once all of them were in the same general area, Kisame got to work. 1,000 shark feeding frenzy. Thousands of Kisame's water sharks formed around his feet and made a massive wave at the 5 reanimated swordsmen. No one needed to be told to jump out of the way. As they all got the hell out of there, the 5 swordsmen got swept up by the sharks. Kisame yelled out, "All right Haku, now freeze those sons of bitches." Haku was a little nervous about doing something like this. It was going to be hard to pull something like this off, but he wasn't backing down. He channeled as much chakra as he could into the water and began to freeze it. As the swordsmen struggled to get out of the water sharks, they saw the ice rushing towards them and began to struggle harder. It was too late though. All of the sharks were frozen along with the 5 opponents. Haku was proud of himself for actually accomplishing it and noticed that someone had jumped on top of the pile of frozen sharks. What are you doing? The man told him, I'm gonna be sealing these guys in the ice. If Gaara and do it in sand, Haku can do it in ice. If it starts to melt, I'll just put the seal on bodies themselves. Good job guys. We can't thank you enough. Haku nodded, not a problem sir, it was our pleasure. Kisame walked over and looked into the ice. I wouldn't call it a pleasure. Sorry I had to do this to you again guys. Teneki, who knew what had happened all those years ago, walked over to him and rubbed his back. It's okay Kisame-kun, you did what you had to do. Kisame sighed, yeah, I guess. Come on, we've got other people to take care of. Kankuro had heard a lot of stuff about Pakura when he was younger. She was supposedly a great Suna ninja who'd been killed by some IWA ninjas, but once Kiri ended up forming the alliance, a few things had come to light and it turns out she'd been killed by them instead. Suna didn't care at this point, it had been a long time ago and it wasn't really relevant anymore. They had much bigger things on their minds. Speaking of which, Kankuro wasn't doing half bad against Sasori, especially with Tenten's help. Kankuro was nearly an S-rank ninja, he was a puppet master on Sasori's level after all, and Tenten was becoming one of the finest Kenjutsu specialists in the Leaf's history. Sasori wasn't too terribly worried about it though, he still had one trick he thought just might work. Sasori raised up his hand and controlled Pakura. I'll admit, your skill with puppets is on par with my own. Luckily for me, this attack won't be anything a puppet can save you from. Pakura began to take in wind and spin it all around inside her body. Then she made a flame in her hand and brought it to her mouth and opened wide. Kakuro had worked with Temari long enough to know what happened when the much wind was introduced to a flame. Tenchan, get down. As Pakura swallowed the flame and the wind inside her body began to increase it, Kankuro called Salamander up from under the ground to swallow her before she exploded. It destroyed Salamander, but at least they were both safe. Kankuro wasn't going to waste any time, so he immediately summoned Crow for a scroll. Crow attacked Sasori before Pakura had a chance to return and captured him inside his Iron Maiden. Sasori yelled as the various mechanisms in the puppet binded him, "This isn't over, I will be immortal when this is all said and done." Kankuro scoffed, "That's what this was all about? I mean, you're already immortal." Sasori snapped, "What do you mean?" Kankuro explained, "Every puppeteer in Suna studies you. You revolutionized puppetry, and in their work you're going to live on forever. Sasori, you've been immortal for a long time now." With those words some kind of feeling rushed over Sasori. It was like a weight had been lifted off his shoulder. "Kankuro, if what you say is true, then I need you to do something. I need you to promise me that you'll see to it my techniques get passed on for generations." Kankuro told him, "Don't worry, I already am." That was all it took for Sasori to pass on. The reanimation technique had a few ways to be broken out of, one of which was entering an extreme state of emotional peace. Sasori was now out of the fight, but others were still fighting on. The other fights were Deidara versus Han and Sakura, and Kakuzu versus Yujito and Rashi. Kankuro decided it wouldn't be good idea to help them out since he'd been the one to finish first. Tenten seemed to agree as she was running in to help as well. "Kankuro-kun, you take Mr. Artist and I'll take the Mask Psycho." Kankuro laughed and got his Sasori puppet at the ready. He could see Deidara was using that thing on his eye to counter Sakura's genjutsu and was about to send out more of his clay, so he had Sasori fly right at him. The puppet lifted up its arms, released a stream of flames at the crazy blonde. Since Deidara wasn't looking, the fire hit him right in the back. Han took the chance and jumped back to where Sasori was and grabbed him by the neck. He pulled Deidara down and off the bird. "Come down here and play with us for a little while, will ya?" Deidara hit the ground with Han on top of him, holding him down. "Is all that puppet can do is attack, or can you seals this son of bitch for me? Seriously, this guy's a fighter." Deidara was fighting like a madman. "Get the hell off me, you son of a bitch. Let me use my arms so I can turn you into my art." Kankuro just ran over to do it himself. As a puppet master he knew seals pretty damn well. It took some doing and Sakura holding him down and well, but they eventually got Deidara sealed away. That just left Kakazu. Tenten had just the thing to get him sealed away. "Yujito, you distract him. Rashi, you get behind him and do what I say on cue. Let's do this." Tenten ran off with Yujito muttering, "Who left her in charge?" Still, she ran in front of Kakuzu, who was down to 3 masks since they destroyed the other 2. He'd activated all 3 of his remaining hearts and was planning on obliterating whoever was in his way. At the moment, that was Yujito. "All right, you little brat, let me show you what I've got." "Wire mask." Tenten didn't let him finish. "Not so fast, big boy. Let's see how you handle this little trick." She turned the katana into a drill lance like Shursui had used. When Kakuzu tried to wrap wires around it to rip it out of her hand, she turned up her fire chakra and spun the drill around, wrapping the wire around it and completely throwing off Kakuzu. "Rashi, I need something that can hold this guy for at least a couple seconds." Rashi put a hand to his mouth. "Got it." Kakuzu kept trying to get his wire loose and start attacking again, but it wasn't working. Rashi spit lava on him, but it was cooler than his usual lava. It turned into rock almost instantly as it increased Kakuzu. Tenten put the lance down and ran over to Kakuzu, making sure that she could seal him before he broke free. With that, the battles were over. Kankuro felt like he just might be the best puppet master in Suna, and the Jinchurikis got some payback. This battle was an absolute win for the heroes for the first time in a while. See you in the next one.